No, mate, you right?
How's it going, dude? Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, can you hear me?
Sweet. Yeah, I can hear you lovely.
Nicely. How's it going?
Yeah, good, good. Very, very busy.
Okay.
Um, yeah, business, music, and then kids. I've got two kids as well that I'm running around after all the time. So enough to keep you on your toes, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, for sure, mate. Yeah. Got got a 5-year-old
Oh,
to
wow. Well,
to
really busy
manage.
then.
Yeah, he's a bit to be fair, but mustn't grumble.
Where are you based, dude? Are you in London or?
Now I'm in Manchester.
Oh, okay, cool. Oh, just across the road, almost across the
Yeah, you in
Thames.
Sheffield, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay,
When did
cool.
you start doing the podcast?
About 5 years ago now.
Oh, brilliant.
It was like a lockdown thing. Like, I had the idea before that, and then when like Zoom came into play and stuff, I was like, no excuses now, type of thing.
That's great, man. Yeah, there's a few people I think done the same thing, didn't they? It all sort of started around the time where the tech, I mean, it's always there before the technology, weren't it? But it was just like, well, we've got no other choice. And then it sort of opens up these other possibilities, doesn't it? It makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's all right. Been a bit of a passion project type thing.
Yeah, it's good, man. So you still got your day job and everything as well?
Yeah, yeah. To be fair,
Yeah,
you
so,
you were actually one of the bands I thought about when I started it. Like,
that's nice.
because you're like the
Yeah.
perfect fit. It's like one of those great bands that I don't know, you just wonder what happened to. But I guess you've done, you've been pretty active though.
Well, you get it. Yeah, you'll find out in a minute, I suppose, as we go what we've been up to. But no, it's really good. I listened to the one with Eddie. I love Eddie. Like, and a lot of that stuff that he talked about, Kelly punching him and all that. I didn't know about any of that.
Right, yeah, he's
I
got some good
didn't. I didn't know
stories.
any of those stories. I was like, "Fucking hell!" Because when I saw him, we always got on really well, and there was there was none of that going on. And when he's sort of talking about all these bands, who else was it? Oh, the Strokes. He was slagging off the Strokes, weren't he? And playing a gig in New York, and they were in the room, and all of this kind of stuff. I was just like, yeah, I didn't realize he was such a bad boy. So that was quite entertaining and all the stuff at the NME Awards and all that as well. Yeah, it's a good one. That it was really good. Yeah, I enjoyed listening to that. I wish I had more time because I went through a few as well of the other one. I can't remember if I told the off the beaten track one. I had listened to a few of them before, and it was really nice. I was doing a job, so I had time. Now, when I was working in London, I always had time for podcasts. I did loads, but now it's like I'm back in Sheffield all the time, and it's hard, isn't it? Especially when you got kids. Like when you got time to just sit down and absorb a bit of music or a podcast or read a book or something. It's like, yeah, I'm longing for those days when they're 25 and they got fellas and
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's like I can only commit to about two podcasts where I can actually listen to them like
yeah,
regularly
yeah,
type thing. Yeah. But
yeah.
yeah, what do you do for work now? Then out of interest.
So, well, I mean, it's part of the story really, but I bought an engineering works like 12,000 square feet uh, in 2010. So it was like the point where the band was sort of, I'll save it. I'll save it because
Yeah, yeah,
you'll probably want to hear it. Let's know what I really want to know about is what happened to the rakes. That's what I want to know.
yeah, yeah. I think it was. I think Alan called it a day.
Have you spoke to them ever? Or have
Yeah, I
they?
spoke to Matt and Lassa.
Oh, is it on your list of podcasts?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I'll have to give that a listen then, and then I'm
Yeah.
sure. Did you get the full story on there?
Pretty much, yeah. I think.
Oh,
I think Alan works in like coding now or something. I don't think he wants to
he's
relive
not
any of
interested.
this stuff.
Oh, so he got the 22 grand job in the city and that was all right. Probably a bit more than 22 grand now, isn't it, if you're a coder?
Yeah, yeah, I'd hope so. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, well, that's a bit of a shame, isn't it? Because I remember seeing them. I can't even remember when we would have seen them, but uh, I'd imagine it was either maybe 2006, probably that I can't remember even where we saw them. I was so drunk back then, it was bad. But I just remember watching them and it was so, I think it was a sold out gig. and I was just like, these guys are fucking awesome, man. And they were like, you just thought they were gonna go. They seemed to be way bigger than Art Brut, bigger than us. Like they just had this extra thing that they were doing, I thought. And yeah, it's weird. It's weird to think that they didn't carry it on or that it stopped. But yeah, anyway,
Yeah, yeah,
such is rock and roll, eh?
indeed.
Oh, right, let me hit record on here before I forget. Don't worry about the click track. I'll turn that off. Okay, cool. All right, I'm ready.
All right, nice one, mate. Well, yeah, I guess to get a bit of context on everything, like obviously you were Southerner originally, type thing. How did you end up in Sheffield?
I'm technically still a Southerner, I'll have you know.
Yeah,
Yeah, I ended up in Sheffield um, to go to university. So I well, I pretty much I think I was set on going to Manchester actually. It's quite funny why that's where you are now, isn't it?
yeah, I work at the
So
uni as well, to be fair.
oh, do you? Ah,
Yeah,
mad. Yeah, so I sort of thought, Manchester seemed to be kind of happening at the time. So what was this? 2000. And then at the time there was a petrol strike on and well, petrol and diesel. And my old man only had enough fuel to get me to Sheffield and back. So
right.
we looked at Manchester and he was like, well, might be risking it a bit, but Sheffield, we could get up the M1 and back again. I know how many miles that is, and I know how many miles. He used to keep a book, my old man. He was a proper, well, he still is, but he'd keep a book of how many miles he did on a tank, and he'd always try and beat it analog, you know what I mean, with a biro and a little pad. So he knew what he could do. So yeah, so that's we ended up coming up here, and I remember the first time I got here, there was like there was Gatecrasher was on right near the university, and I just remember seeing all these people in like those big fluffy boots. I don't know if you remember saw that, like completely.
The Ugg boots.
Yeah, yeah, but no, like a Sesame Street monster or
Yeah, I know what you
something.
do. I do
Like
know what you
that
mean.
kind of
Yeah.
furry boots, like in fluorescent colors with like all these mad clothes and mad makeup. And I was just like, what the fuck is going on here? And that was enough for me. I sort of thought, well, it must be all right if these lunatics are running around doing this. And that was like 9 o'clock in the morning, I think, probably a bit, I don't know what day it even was. You'd think they're doing that on the weekend, but it could have been in the week, probably knowing them sorts of people. So yeah, I sort of thought it was all right, and then ended up coming back. I had to come back on the train. Um, yeah, so that was the reason for Sheffield, really.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So whereabouts were you down south originally?
Yeah, I grew up in a place called Yateley, little absolute little shithole with nothing going on. One of those commuter belt towns. So that's why the first album was called Ditch from the Commuter Belt because it was all about little stories, ditties
Okay.
from there. Because growing up around there, it was like you were close enough to London to sort of catch a train and be in Waterloo in 30 minutes. But when you're younger, you're not really, not many people did that. Parents didn't really let us do that. So there was sort of nothing going on. The nearest town where we could get to a record shop um, was Camberley. So you catch a bus for about 15 minutes, and then you could go to all that. But actually, when I got a bit older, they had KFC. We got a KFC, and that was a big deal. Like that was what you do on the weekends. Then that was the highlight of the weekend was go down KFC, watch the local gypsies have a punch up with someone, and then go and get a KFC. That would be the sort of things that we'd get up to. So yeah, pretty boring and that's Hampshire. So yeah, it's about 30 minutes from Waterloo on the train. So sort of not close enough to be London, but do you know what I mean? Sort of close
Yeah, yeah.
enough to be London. I think people would call that London now. I don't know. Sort of stretched outside the M25 a bit, isn't it?
Yeah, not sure, mate, to be fair. But
Yeah.
what year did you move to Sheffield then?
So 2000,
Ah, okay, right.
2000.
So this
Yeah.
was quite a good
25 years ago.
quite a good year in terms of all this scene kicking off then with the strokes and everything.
Yeah, I mean, it was good that I remember because I think like I think we I can't remember what channel we were watching, but I do remember like more music videos and stuff being on the TV still. And a mate of mine, well, I've got the guy, one of the guys I first met when I got to university, he was really bang into his music. So uh, and he sort of he because at that time, I've been pretty heavily inspired. My cousin played me Bleach by Nirvana um, on import from the United States in the late 80s. I was only 9 years old, and it was before anything got released over here. So, I'd had that sort of, and then obviously, after that, he used to get this magazine and they'd have the latest independent releases on it. So you'd get like the first Rage Against the Machine single and the first Red Hot Chili Peppers. Well, no, it wasn't the first single they released, but off the Blood Sugar Sex Magic album. And what else? There was Beastie Boys, so it was all that sort of time. I was getting into this before any of my mates knew what it was because it hadn't been released in the UK. So then when Nevermind came along, I already knew what was going on with that. And then yeah, so grunge and all of that was when I really thought, yeah, I definitely want to be in a band and I want to be a singer. I could always sing a little bit. And in school plays and stuff like that, I used to do they'd always pick me to do a bit of singing in the school plays and stuff. So that was what sparked it for me. But then when I met Kieran in Sheffield at university, he'd really been through the whole British backstory really of rock and roll. So Beatles, The Who, right, Kinks, all the mod stuff, and then right into the 70s punk, with especially with the Jam and then nodding back to the Small Faces, and so he was sort of into all that, which was really good. And then also we were on top of the new stuff, and that was, yeah, like you said, the Strokes, and then that Chili Peppers. I think that Californication album I think that came out 2000, didn't it? I think Queens of Stone Age maybe somewhere around there as well. And
Yeah.
I just remember seeing a lot of those on TV. I can't remember what channel it was. I don't know if it was MTV or whatever. But yeah, and then the White Stripes, obviously the White Stripes coming along. So it was sort of, I guess, that little precursor, weren't it, to maybe the Libertines. Were the Libertines a bit late? Libertines were what were they? Like 2004 were they, or 2003?
Was their first album a year after the Strokes, I think, 2002.
Oh,
But yeah,
okay,
just
so
afterwards,
yeah,
basically.
so they sort, yeah, and then obviously then that was the transition, wasn't it, into, I guess, the sort of little Sheffield mini pop up that we were involved in. So yeah, yeah, interesting times. Mad now to think back to it. Mad.
Yeah, yeah. And am I right in thinking you were in a band called Fixated at first? Is that right?
Oh, look, he's done his research. Very embarrassed about that. This is the problem with the internet, isn't it? You can't hide anything. Yeah, so I met Jono at university. Kieran and my mate who I was telling you about before, I'd played guitar, showed him how to play guitar a bit, and we'd learned a few songs together and covers and stuff like that. And he'd actually pushed me into doing like an open mic thing in the local pub, Broadfield on Abbeydale Road. And I absolutely shit myself. There was about five people in there. I think I did like David Gray cover and things like that, Coldplay, I think, and a few others that were shocking choices, really. Um, but they were easy to play. So I think that was kind of why I did it. I've never been a guitarist, really, more of a singer. So it was quite scary. And then through that, I sort of met John at uni and told him I'd been sort of writing my own songs a bit. And he said, "Oh, I know someone, friend of the family, who's coming who can play drums. He's starting at Sheffield Hallam University as well." So we started knocking about in Jono's basement, basically. I had a few mates some mates of Jono's who'd been, I mean, Jono had been playing bass since he was like in bands, since he was like, well, he's probably playing bass in the womb, that guy. Like, he is unbelievable. And all of his mates were the same, and they'd been heavily, Pearl Jam was a big one for them. So they were really loud and they were, yeah, heavy. So a lot of that sort of how to make distortion and use guitar amps, and it was all about old gear. Like, it was all about vintage amps, 60s, the older the better, basically. And I think I don't know if that was just their thing or that was a grunge thing, I don't know. But, so learned a lot from those guys. And then they actually, in that basement as well, the Fixated They actually helped us record. Well, they did record us in Jono's basement. And then that sort of opened up the avenue to getting a few gigs here and there. You got your demo now, so you could play it to places. And then we start doing a few bits and bobs gigs about. And then actually, weirdly, that was we played a gig as Fixated supporting this band called Candy Town, who were from High Green, and High Green just so happened to be where the Arctic Monkeys were from, and they were sort of good mates with these guys. I think they might have had a few rehearsals or something at this point, and they were down watching Candy Town, and they saw me kicking mic stands over and screaming on the floor and general just making a horrendous racket and being a really obnoxious individual, and they loved it, and they came to ask us afterwards, how do you do that? How do you sort of they were still, I mean, I think it was Alex's 16th birthday. I think Greenie was telling me about it the other day. And so that was the point where we made friends with them really. Um and then it was sort of a bit of a journey. Kind of, there was one song that I'd done where you could hear, you know, that I was from down south, and Alex said to me, "Oh, it's really cool when you can hear your accent like that. You should do that more." So I did. I tried it, and then it sort of went. I remember getting to a point where I was like, I can't fit all these words in if I'm singing them, so I'm just gonna have to shout them a bit, or say them, or speak them. And then we sort of noticed, and everybody noticed, our other mates as well, the Milburn boys and John McClure, Reverend and the Makers, John, at the time, 1984 was his band, and everyone was saying the same thing. Oh yeah, and so we thought, oh, this sounds a bit different. Like we're doing something different now. And I think for me, it was like Squeeze with the Call for Cats when I was a kid. That was always something that I liked. So, for the same reason, because you could hear where he was from, you could hear his accent. So I sort of that resonated with me quite a lot. That we were sort of doing something a bit like that, and and yeah, and that was so we decided to change the name then really because it sounded like a different thing, and it was a progression, and people seemed to like it. So that was when Bromwell's Jacket happened.
Yeah, what's the meaning behind the name? Out of interest.
It's from a Michael Caine film, and it was about his character really in that film, and that was his name, his surname Gonville Bromhead, and to be honest, it's not a great name. I don't really even remember how that came about. I mean, he's a great actor, but I think we could have done a bit better than that.
It's memorable, isn't it?
I mean, people seem to remember it, yeah, but yeah, it's not got one of those deep hidden meanings.
Well, I mean, between you and Arctic Monkeys, I mean, they're all a bit.
Yeah, there's a few stories about that, isn't there? I don't even know if anybody's got. I think Greenie told me the other day. I think Greenie might know the actual version of events. I can't even remember what it is now. But there's quite a few. There's quite a few for that, isn't there?
Yeah, you never really hear them talking about it, really. But yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, will you be able to like build momentum quite quickly from there then, from that point of becoming
Yeah,
Bromwell's
well, I
Jacket?
mean, yeah, for us, it was, I mean, the art tip, it's funny because in the past, I never wanted to talk about them in interviews, but I think we didn't want to be sort of like seen to be copying what they were doing or trying to jump on the bandwagon. So we made quite a conscious effort um, to kind of distance ourselves once they started taking off. We got offered a lot of support slots, and even their manager Jeff Barradell was really interested in managing us, and we just sort of thought we want to do our own thing. And I think that was probably a bit of a mistake because I mean people have said to me now, them so Greenie said it actually, them seeing us play like that probably contributed to the sort of punk, the more punky, noisy part of their sound because they didn't really understand how you did that at that time. They'd never seen anybody sort of playing loud with vintage amps and distortion and all that kind of stuff. So if I'd have realized at the time that it was, I mean, the NME, I don't know if you've seen that NME one where they talked about their new favorite band, and they talked about they put us, so they had a whole spread on us, and after that we got loads of people fucking asking all the time about the Arctic Monkeys all over the world, like all around Europe and in the United States. And you got to the point where you were just like, fucking hell, we're going to talk about them again. But at the time, at the time you didn't realize that they were what they are. I mean, Alex is like probably the best, greatest songwriter of our generation. Like he had no idea, that they were gonna be what they are now. So it's sort of like, can you just stop asking us about our mates all the time? They were just like close to us. So so yeah, I think if I'd have understood more, and I mean, so in my, I think someone had even said to me, it's like, almost like for me, the Melvins and Nirvana, someone said to me, oh, yeah, you kind of like the Melvins to their Nirvana. And if I'd have thought about it like that at the time, I'd have been all right with that, because I think I'd always want to be the Melvins over Nirvana. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, that was, I've forgotten even what the question was there now. Did I get there?
Yeah, just about in
Rambling
terms
on.
of momentum. But I know what you mean. There was a big thing about the bandwagon thing, wasn't there? I mean, it's even an Arctic Monkeys lyric in an early
That's
song.
it.
So
Yeah,
you
yeah,
got,
yeah.
I know, I can understand you being wary of that for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you didn't want to, but they were, they were inviting us to do stuff. It's like, we
Yeah,
we,
yeah.
we should have really jumped in a bit more with that. But yeah, no, I mean, it was unbelievable, really, the momentum wise, because obviously what had happened with them was incredible, like an incredible, like natural um explosion, really, of excitement. And that started, as far as I'm aware, that started on the Libertines forum. And it was a friend, really good friend of mine now, called Mark Ball. At the time, his signing name on the forums was the Sheriff of Sheffield. And he'd basically asked the boys, like, can I put some of his songs up online? And then sort of gave it away to a lot of his friends who he knew from the Libertines forum. If you like, guys, this is pretty good, like, you know what I mean? And knowing that they all obviously like the Libertines, and so that was mental to sort of watch that happen. And then John got involved and sort of said, "Oh, Mark, you need to meet Tim. Like this other band, they're really good." And I remember meeting Mark for the first time, and he really liked it as well. And he said, "Yeah, do you want me to put them up online and do the same?" So I was like, "Yeah, yeah, sweet." So he did that, and then I remember the first time I remember something weird going on. We went to play this gig called the Globe, which is down opposite the train station in Sheffield, and it's just a pub, you know what I mean? And we were just setting up, and people sort of started coming in, and then there was like more people coming in, and we're thinking, what do all these people do? They can't be here. We used to play until like literally when we were playing early gigs, it'd be like Alex Helders, Cookie, the Milburn Boys, and John, like, you know what I mean? And that's what it's like. And the first time I saw the Arctic Monkeys, it was like that as well. Like it was like 30 people or something, and we all sort of knew each other. And so for all these people to be coming in was a bit weird. And then after a while, we realized that they were actually waiting for us to play. So we um, we started up with the first song, and immediately um, everybody kicked in singing, like from the first verse. That was weird. Like we'd seen it happen at the Monkeys gigs, but we didn't think that that would happen to us. I didn't think that we were that sort of catchy, and that anyone actually wanted to sing along to our stuff. And I just thought we were way too loud and obnoxious, but they seemed to be all right with it. So yeah, that was the first moment really where you realized something was going on. And then from there, the gigs just got, we went to bigger places, and we ended up in the boardwalk, and then eventually we ended up in the lead mill. And yeah, that whole sort of community of mates and just hanging out together, and it being sort of like then this really natural thing. And then before you know it, there's record labels coming up on the train, and we're all sat around sometimes in the same bars, like seeing, oh, the Monkeys are over there talking to, I can't even remember who they signed to in the end, but yeah, we're sat there
Domino, was
talking
it?
Domino
Oh.
Records, yeah, and we're sat over here talking to Island Records and managers and all of this. And it's a very strange thing because you didn't, being quite young as well, you didn't really understand what the hell was going on. Like I never thought I'd be talking to someone on a podcast 25 years later about about what was going on then at that time. So we kind of didn't take it that seriously, really, I don't think. And and then yeah, so it was a wild time. And then you just literally we I mean we got so drunk. Like you'd just go out in Sheffield all the time, and you'd always get free drinks everywhere you went. And we'd all, often we'd all be going out together, or we'd be going out to each other's gigs, or we'd be going, back to each other's practice rooms, when the pubs all shut and stuff, because it used to close at 11 o'clock back then. Do you remember that? Were you about for that? Or
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I remember the
wild.
change, yeah.
Wild, 11 o'clock. So then you'd have to go to someone's rehearsal room and then drink some more. And then the guitars come out and everyone starts swapping instruments and swapping bands. And it was a really good time, man. Like, I still, even now, sort of remembering how much fun it actually was. And yeah. And the other weird thing was like, there was not really any, not many camera phones about at that time. And there was a few people. Andy had a camera. He was always taking pictures. I think he's got a book coming out soon, actually.
What,
Um,
Nicholson?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, that was really weird because you've not got no proper memories of it and stuff. You can't really look back at all that like you can now. Do you know what I mean? Like you'd have thousands of pictures. So yeah, it was mad. It was mad times. But it's kind of nice to have memories like that rather than, everything being videoed and photographed. It's kind of nice.
Yeah, that's what when I talked to Jamie Reynolds of of Klaxons, he made that point. He's like he quite likes the fact that it wasn't that well documented for whatever reason.
Yeah, it sort of feels a bit more special because it's kind of like, yeah, like warm, kind of foggy memories.
I guess
Feels a
it means
bit
you're like you're more in the
nicer.
moment as well if you're not worried about.
100%.
Yeah, yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's mad, isn't it now? Like the amount of people I see just walking into the road, like walking into live traffic, like with their nose literally touching the screen. It's scary. I mean, it's an addictive it's an addictive drug, I think, what's going on there. Somebody knew what were they were doing when they designed all this stuff, but let's not go into that. We'll be here all night.
Yeah, fair play. But yeah, the demos, it's really interesting because obviously, like you say, Arctic Monkeys demos had a massive life of their own. I think it was similar with you guys. Like, where did you actually record them? And you can't have expected for them to get played that much, I suppose, at the time.
Um, Do you know what? That's a really good question. I mean, we had a rehearsal room. We had a rehearsal room at this studio called Mosaic Studios. A guy called Brian used to run that, and he used to let us rehearse there. And I think we give him a few quid a month, kind of thing. But it was a recording studio, so we did do a lot of the demos, I think, in there with a guy called Sam. Um, but again, I can't quite remember exactly what happened. Because yeah, you're right. There would have been a lot of that going on because we did quite a lot of. I mean, we just recently went back and re-recorded a load of songs that we couldn't even find, that didn't make it onto the album. Some of them got used as B-sides, but then there was a lot of others, and it was literally the fans like sending us videos that they'd taken, um, and we had to and we had to go through them to even figure out like what fucking the cause, what are the lip, what even, because it's not, you couldn't find them anywhere. So we did that last year. We just did a bunch of those, found a bunch of those songs, some of them were on YouTube and stuff like that. So yeah, but I think that was like I said before, once we got those are the ones that Mark had been putting up, on the internet, and once we got to that gig at the Globe, those were the ones that people were listening to, and it happened to everyone. And Milburn was the same and all that, and they did all theirs really with Alan Smythe at Two Fly Studio. So I think we must have done a lot of ours, yeah, with our mate Sam. And then of course everyone the big joke with the Milburn thing was that everybody liked the demos better than the album, and that was all big thing. I don't know if that happened with many other bands, but a lot of the bands from Sheffield, that was what happened. And then of course they signed to quite a big label and they spent a lot of money on that record. I think the boys were making jokes about it, and it wasn't going down very well. I think people get familiar, don't they? Like that feeling. I guess it's like drugs, right? Or love, or whatever the dopamine release that you want to attach to it is. But I think that's what happens with people when they hear that song for the first time and they have that connection to it. You know what I mean? They're also connected to the production of that song. So then when you go and make it sound better, technically sound better, like it doesn't have the same impact for those original people because they were so blown away by that song, when they first heard it in that format, and that's not the same anymore. And I think that's quite, it's kind of cool that that happens, I guess it is sort of in a punk way. But yeah, frustrating, I suppose, for record labels and all the people that are paying loads of money to try and make it sound better.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's just like different energy to it type thing, isn't there? Because I
Yeah.
guess it's interesting, yeah. Because like, what was it like for you? Because I guess those demos and those songs, similar to Arctic Monkeys, like they'd already been around the block by the time you
Mm.
came to recording for the album. Is that how it felt a little bit?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I remember feeling like, God, do we have to record the old ones? But they were really good. The guys at Marky Cha Cha, Tarek and Shiner, they were really good at sort of like gently kind of nudging us to include like a lot of those older ones. But yeah, I mean, we ended up recording that first album. Well, we did a single with the first single I think we did with James Ford. I think that was What Ifs and Maybes.
Oh, okay.
I think, and that was Shiner had managed to convince James to do that with us, even though he was super busy. I'm not sure what else he'd done at that point, but he was kind of like the new kid in town, I think, on the scene in London.
Yeah, because he
Um,
didn't do Monkeys until the second album or something, was it? I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I think he might have done a single with them, and I can't
Ah, okay.
remember if that was. I can't remember if that was. I think that was after we'd worked with him, but I'm not sure. Yeah, so that was cool. That was cool. I really liked working with James. That was good. But then we heard something that Ross had done, Ross Orton, um, and he was in Sheffield, and he was into all the same sort of music, and we really loved his drum sound because he had a really very natural drum sound, which we sort of liked. We wanted it to sound more like it sounds like, in the room, and also a bit of the old school, guess that Zeppelin feel of like a drum kit being a drum kit. Um, so yeah, it was great, and Steve Mackey as well, them two producing together. Um, and Steve was more set up in London, but yeah, it was really good. I mean, we recorded it in like, Ross's studio at the time was like a ramshackle little place. It was down near the Stag Works in Sheffield, and all completely just, self knocked together. But it was really good fun, man. It was very exciting to actually think, wow, we're gonna make an album, and that I remember thinking that's, no matter how many people listen to it, didn't matter to me too much. It just made me realize, like, once you do that, that's like there forever. You know what I mean? It's like it's there forever. And that's quite even now to think that I think about albums, it's or art or a film or whatever it is, whichever creative outlet that you choose, it's pretty phenomenal to think, sometimes for the worst, like with our second album, but and some of those demos. But it's pretty mad when you think about it. And that was I remember that being really special and feeling really proud of that when it was finished. It was good. It was another good time, really.
Yeah, and how did it work in terms of labels? Like you said, you were caught in interest. Like what ended up happening with that?
What do you mean? How do we get signed or what?
Well, yeah, when you said you were like going to bars with
Oh yeah,
labels
yeah,
and stuff,
yeah.
what actually transpired type thing?
Well, I mean, there was all these sort of dudes coming up that were, from various different labels and I remember Ninja Tunes. I remember speaking to them and then this guy from Island Records and some quite big management companies um but we just weren't fucking interested at all, really, in that. And it's probably a bit silly because it might have had more legs, but we just, we were so punk, we were so focused on, you know, like big companies like that. It was just like, there's no way we're going to get into bed with someone like that. And, we were all the same. We all wanted to sign to independent labels and we wanted it to be like a punk thing. So when Shine and Tarot came along, it was like, well, yeah, this is what we're into. Like, and we'd heard the streets and we weren't really uh, it's not like I hadn't heard the streets until after I knew, actually I had heard the streets because the Monkeys, I think Andy had played me the streets after we'd all sort of got going for a bit. So it was just cool to think they had a record shop and then they started putting out records and then they became a record label. We were into that, we were sort of into like sub pop, the whole grunge thing and the whole indie thing. So yeah, but again, that could have been a bit of a mistake really because there was some of those people were really, really, really into Bromheads Jacket and they probably would have done a fantastic job. But at the same time, you hear about all these horror stories of, your record getting put on a shelf for forever and it never gets released and all that. So it's a really, really difficult, and I think it's probably the same now. It seems to be the same anyway. I think it's very difficult for bands, I think, to sort of try and navigate all of that when you're only young, you know what I mean? And you don't really know a lot really at that age. I mean, my frontal lobe wasn't fully formed, so I wasn't really making brilliant decisions in general, I don't think, at that age. And then you sort of think, well, you've got to make all these massive business decisions that could have a huge impact on the rest of your life. And you don't, you just depending on which people you decide to work with could have make the difference between a few years having a bit of fun like we did or having a career for the rest of your life. So it was quite a difficult junction that, and it's hard because when you're a punk as well, you don't want to listen to what anyone tells you. You don't care what anyone says, managers or whatever. You don't trust anyone, and so yeah, it was interesting. It was an interesting time.
No, yeah, I really admire anyone who's like got that strong will at that age type thing. 'Cause I mean, we were in a band that didn't go anywhere, but I can't imagine. I just can't imagine being able to like turn down a major label or something. I don't
Yeah,
think
I
so.
mean, they didn't really offer us anything concrete, but we didn't really give them a chance. 'Cause we were quite rude to some of them, and it's not. I don't think that's the right thing to do. I mean,
I bet they were
well,
quite
I don't
corporate and
think
annoying though.
some of them were a bit, yeah, some of them were a bit like that, and you
Yeah.
sort of, yeah, that definitely those were like, no, that's not happening, mate. Those were quite quick ones, but some of them are probably really, really good at their job and probably had a lot of success. But I think the music industry is just, it feels like a pretty toxic place to me. I mean, I understand that you can't you've got to somehow turn it into a business, like, and that's a difficult thing to do, and I think that's got harder and harder over the years. But I mean, when you're sort of looking at these profit figures for the CEOs of these huge streaming companies. It's pretty dark. That's it's not really far off slavery the way that that seems to be working. And we're supposed to have a minimum wage in this country. So what, this it's all a bit dark, I think. And so yeah, I mean, I don't envy anybody. And my mental health was like deeply affected by that. It was I was a little bit rocky there for a while. And I think it doesn't really help. And I think that amount of pressure and wanting it to work like for the boys as well. Um, it it was a difficult thing really, because you sort of like you wanted to get back on tour so that everyone could make money, so people didn't have to go and get jobs. So then that's sort of like, right, well, you're the songwriter, so come on, like, where's the next album? And then on top of record labels and sales and all of this kind of stuff, it was yeah, I think I just used to get drunk all the time, like a lot. And I think even recently, it's took me a while to really understand what was going on there. And I mean, over the last, like, I went in my mid 30s, I ended up going to therapy, which was the best thing I ever did with my life. I recommend it to anybody. Um, uh, and that really, really helped me sort of understand a lot of what was going on there and why I was drinking so much and all of that. And over the years, it's been quite sad around here because we have lost quite a few people to suicide who been a part of our community. And I think it doesn't really help, trying to make it or trying to be successful within an industry that is very, very difficult, very, very competitive, and lots of people, all wanting to try and achieve the same thing. It's hard sometimes to remember that you just have to be an artist, and you just have to be yourself, and you just have to keep doing it, and you just have to ignore what anybody else says. And it seems to me those are the people who are still doing it now, who, bands, from Sheffield. And I really, really respect that, like John McClure, Reverend the Makers, and Self Esteem. Like, I think she's amazing to have just. I remember meeting Rebecca when she was in her other band, which I've forgotten the name of now, but come back to me in a minute. And just to keep going like that is amazing, I think. And those are the people who sort of know, and like you said, oh, I kind of admire that you were turning down major labels. Well, I kind of admire those types of people, like, I'm an artist, I can't do anything else. So this is just what I'm going to do, and I'm never going to stop doing it, no matter what anybody says about me or thinks about me, or who wants to sign me or release my music, or whether it goes in the charts or not. And yeah, I think that's for anybody who's thinking about, taking the plunge. That's the most important thing now. And also I think it's important everybody knows how damaging it can be, I think, for your mental health, like to take on board that kind of pressure, and even just standing up playing gigs, and worrying about what people are going to think or what they're going to say. It's quite when your heart's like on your sleeve, it's pretty tough, man. It's pretty tough. So yeah, I struggled a lot with all of that. And that might be, you know why it kind of sort of self imploded a bit, really, towards the end, in a true
No, I
punk
can
fashion.
imagine. Can imagine there was definitely a lack of understanding around the mental health aspect at the time. Did you find there was like a lack of people to lean on in terms of that?
Um, I think you don't really know what's going on when you're that
Yeah, yeah.
age. Slow Club, by the way, was Rebecca's. Do you ever see Slow Club? That was one of her
Not
first bands,
sure.
I think. Yeah, they were really good. Two-piece acoustic thing. She was really good. They're really good. Anyway, yeah, I think because you don't know what's going on. I mean, I only figured it out like in my mid late 30s, and with a lot of help from a really, really good therapist. And even to the point where um, recently, before we started making music again, like, I just wanted to go back to see her and just double check, I'm not going to come off the rails again and everything's going to go to shit. So I did that, and it was great to talk through everything with her to try and understand, what it was that led me to be in that sort of like self-destructive. But I think that's the problem. I think you don't know it's happening at the time. You don't know it's happening, and then also at that time, mental health wasn't really a thing. So I think there's a lot more awareness around it now. But I think specifically for musicians, we should all talk about it more, and we should make sure that the younger guys who are just starting out, that they know that that's a thing, and that you can just have, so you can have people around you then that you can lean on, because you know what's going on and you can talk about it. And talking's an amazing thing, I think, for that whole situation. The more I could sort of talk it through and understand it, the more I could realize, oh, okay, I don't need to be afraid of this thing. And I just, but even now and again, like sometimes you do stuff and it reminds you back to the old days and the triggers and things that people would say or write on the internet or whatever. Or and yeah, so it's good to know more about it now, I think, and to understand it more. I think it's good that everybody in general is more aware of of um of their mental health, and what that means, and how to sort of deal with it if you're struggling.
No, yeah, definitely, yeah. Kind of had a similar experience, really.
Did you?
Yeah, just like I remember, like,
As
yeah.
as a musician, or?
Well, no, sorry, yeah, not. I just mean in terms of mental health.
Right,
Just
yeah.
kind of like having, I don't know, just having really bad times when I was like younger,
Mm,
particularly at Leeds Festival once or twice, and just
yeah.
thinking like not really knowing what was going on, and it's like I was forcing myself to be trying to be, like the normal version of myself,
Yeah, dude, I do.
and and ended up pushing myself further into a hole. And
100%.
it's only now I can look back and think, well, I was just depressed. I'm like,
Yeah.
I didn't know who or how to talk about it. But yeah,
But isn't it funny when, isn't it funny that you have that overriding feeling of like just sort of like everything is shit, like complete darkness, like I am a piece of shit. This music's a fucking piece of shit. Like everything. And
it's that
exactly as
feeling
you
of letting
said,
people down, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and but knowing that something's not right about you, and
Hmm.
trying to not let that sort of thing creep in and take over your personality, as you said, for other people, but to also not understand why that's happening or what it even is. And not, like you said, not I didn't know what depression was at all back then. Like I had no idea what that was. And actually, it's a mad thing to be able to explain to my kids, because it happens to everyone, and especially girls with huge hormonal changes, in their teenage years, to be able to like explain, and then to see them start to learn it at 15, to be like, listen, dude, you're gonna feel like shit for a few days, maybe you're gonna feel like shit for a couple of weeks, but it's just your hormones. They're learning how to fucking settle themselves, and they're balancing, and all this shit's going on in your body, particularly in your brain, that's fucking mad. And it's going to take a little while for it to settle down. Yeah. But, you don't need to worry about it, because this is not who you are. And it's going to go away, and you're going to feel back to normal soon. And to sort of be able to see them go through that over the years, and then to understand and to be able to communicate it. Oh, Dad, I'm just feeling a bit shit at the moment. So can we just stay in and watch TV and just fucking, I don't even want to get out of my pajamas and all that. It's like, yeah, no fucking problem. You know what I mean? And but I would have loved to have been able to understand that and have those kind of conversations, like with my parents. And even like you say, getting to the point where you're at Leeds Festival and you've probably been using a few substances that maybe you shouldn't have, which then smash your dopamine absolutely through the fucking roof. So yeah, guess what's going to happen? Like when that all comes down, like your levels are going to drop through the floor, and you are going to feel like fucking shit, and you won't understand. But now I feel like especially when they're talking about Gen Z and the awareness that that generation has of all of that, because it's on the social media all the time, and it's like explain everything. There's psychology on there. You can go on YouTube. You can learn all this shit. You can understand it. You can Google it. Why do I? It probably tells you. I don't know. I've never tried it, but it probably explain everything to you. Um, which is fantastic. I think that's a fantastic thing that they're talking about for Gen Z, that they're more aware of, making choices about which vinyl they buy because they want to make sure that it's the best it can possibly be for the environment, and they're not driving cars and they're not drinking alcohol, and they're aware of all this extra stuff. I mean, that's a real positive, I think, to all of this kind of sort of like, I guess, social media format, type stuff and delivery of information to people, that's a good thing. Yeah, it's good. It would have been nice, wouldn't it, if we could have had a bit more of that back then in
Yeah,
those
yeah.
dark moments.
And yeah, and especially it must have been mad for you if you're living other people's dreams. So if you're having a bad time, people probably were couldn't compute why you would be having a bad time or whatever. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. And isn't it difficult to understand that about, anybody that's got to the absolute top of their game in the music industry and ended up committing suicide? There's millions of backstories, and well, not millions, but probably hundreds of stories, over the years of people who've done that. And I think it's part of, I think, being someone incredibly creative. Um, Sometimes I think that sort of trauma and that depression, it almost sparks something, in some people who have to have an outlet. I think Kurt Cobain was one of those. I think Amy Winehouse was one of those. I think Jimi Hendrix was one of those. I think yeah, you're right. Yeah, it is a strange thing. But yeah, I mean, as I've looked back at it, that was the other thing that was difficult. It was sort of like watching some of your close mates go absolutely fucking supernova, and for you to sort of be like left in the fucking wake of their sort of, you know, absolute global takeover, um, was difficult because you sort of like, well, you know, what why didn't we sort of do better? Why didn't we work a bit harder? Or why didn't we think a bit, why didn't we think a bit more like that? But of course, at the time, they were just our mates. They weren't the Arctic Monkeys like they are now when you say the Arctic Monkeys. And like I said, with Alex just being an absolute phenomenon and having never really been another one since and never will be, you know, if I'd have known that at the time, it would have made things quite a bit easier, I think, to sort of see them off and flying. And also, they were our mates, so we didn't want to. I didn't want to feel jealous. I didn't want to feel, I didn't want to take away anything from their success. And so I almost didn't allow myself to be jealous as well, which was another thing that was quite difficult. And I think when you're bottling up all this kind of stuff and you don't talk it through, you don't understand it. Yeah, it was difficult. So I think for me it was sort of like, oh well, what, if we're not that good, what's the fucking point? Was a little bit of that going on as well, which obviously is not helped with depression and drinking shitloads of alcohol. And so you sort of, yeah, it is weird though. It is weird because you sort of think, well, when I look at it now, I think, well, fucking hell, we didn't do too bad. Do you know what I mean? Like we did all right. We played some pretty big shows, and we sold a few albums, and it was going pretty well. And if I'd have just kind of managed to balance my mental health, I think, and also had understood that and been able to get some support with that, but also just be more, I guess, more confident in myself of who I was as an artist, and to be sure of that, and to be, have a strong belief in myself to just keep going. I think we would have probably weathered the storm, and I think we would have probably released a lot more albums and carried on going. Um, and it's just so fun doing it now. Do you know what I mean? With balanced mental health and with good relationships within the band. it's so much fun. And you remember back to like, well, that's what it was like in the beginning. And I remember it just being so much fun. And then all this pressure comes along, and money and labels and gigs, and how many people are going to turn up, and and all this kind of stuff starts creeping in. And it's great to do it now because I just don't fucking care. Honestly, I don't give a shit. If there's like fucking two people there that are having a good time, then I'm having a good time. So it's kind of nice. It's kind of nice to have a sort of another go at it and not be wanting it, and knowing that it's not gonna, it's not gonna go supernova, and we're never gonna be, a big band. It's quite nice. It's quite liberating, and I sort of wish I could have had that view of it back then, and it probably would end up being a lot more successful, I think.
Hmm.
But I don't regret the way that my life has gone. It's been, yeah, I wouldn't change a thing about it. I think it was the right thing. I think if the Bromheads had been more successful, I think it could have been even worse for me, for my mental health, and if it had carried on down that road of touring all the time and drinking all the time, I don't like to think about, what could have happened really. So I think it's kind of good that it sort of fizzled out for me anyway. It was kind of good that it fizzled out where it did really.
Yeah, I mean, even for like monkeys, they don't talk about it, but their mental health journey must be mental as well. Like have their formative years in a spot like that, especially for Alex Turner. I mean,
It's
mad.
it's a wild thing, isn't it? And if you have a look at sort of other artists, throughout history who kind of got that big that young, like incredibly damaged, out of control people. And they're all sound. Like they're all still the same guys. Like they're all still the same guys that I remember from back then. I saw Matt like recently. Um, I think it was about a year ago. I last saw Matt. He was in Sheffield, and he just saw me across the room, stood up, held his arms out, and we just went and had a big hug. It was like I'd seen him last week, and we were just talking about the same stuff, and it was just the same. It was just literally, it was just so nice to see that, for someone like you said, it's quite a different life, when that happens to you at such a young age, like 16, 17, 18, and then suddenly you're off, and that's it. You that's all you do. That's all that happens is people go crazy when they see you, and you've got to have security, and you've got to be a bit careful of this, and you can't do that. And yeah, it's not for me. I don't think that would have gone down very well for me, but they've done incredibly well. And even their relationships between each other within the band, I mean, that's not fucking easy, you know what I mean? Like to be
Hmm.
able to get on with each other for that amount of time, for 20 years, like that's family. Like they're family now. Do you know what I mean? And they all have really wicked relationships between each other, and doesn't sound to me like anybody's ever fell out with anyone over the years, which is pretty phenomenal, isn't it? It's pretty amazing that.
No, definitely. Yeah. You can understand why, like as a frontman, like you, can you understand why like, Alex Turner would have these like different personas to kind of deal with?
100%, bro.
Because I
100%.
don't think it's almost like it's not like an artistic thing. It's almost like him dealing with
For
who he
real.
is or whatever. Yeah.
Fuck yeah. I mean, like, I wish I'd figured that out myself, and I actually had to do that recently because, like, if you're not Alex Turner, like, and you're playing a character and everyone slags you off, that's fucking fine because it's not you, is it?
Hmm.
And I wish I'd kind of figured that out back in the day because I was talking to it recently, talking to Shiner about it recently. And it was exactly that. I was like, well, how the fuck am I going to write these songs again? Like, who was that guy? You know what I mean? And it's like, well, it's easier now because that geezer ain't me anymore. Like that's me when I was 23. So now for me to write songs again like that, I feel like I just have to play the character of the young man that was writing those songs back then. And then also to take it a step further and be like, well, okay, yeah, because actually a lot of the time I wasn't even delivering lyrics from my own viewpoint. I was just observing other people, and I was becoming characters essentially. And I didn't understand that that's what I was doing. I knew I was just pretending to be someone else. But if I'd have been able to, I think, embody that a bit more, like you said, like Alex seems to have done over the years, I think it would have been, I think it would have made things a bit easier. I think it's a great technique, and I think, you know, Bowie's really good at that, weren't he? And loads of people over the years. Prince, I think, was quite good at that too. And it's something that's tried and tested. it's been done since the beginning, and I think it's a great, I think it's a fantastic idea, and I wish, I wish I was, I wish I was as smart as that. I mean, and that's him all round. Like it's like his creative intellect is just fucking off the scale. I remember sitting around his house with him, like when he was, I think he must have been 17 at that time, and just to hang out a bit. And he'd decided he was gonna quit college, and he said to his mum and dad, I want to focus on trying to write songs and make music. And they said, okay, you can do that, but if you're doing that, you gotta do chores around the house. You can't just be sitting around making music all day. So he was essentially doing that, like cutting the grass. And I think he said to me, the first time he went to number one, he found out he was gone to number one. He was mowing the lawn, like in the back garden, doing his chores. So I'd sit around there, and I just remember like there was a guitar on the sofa, and then there was just like a stack of records like in the corner. Like I remember seeing the Smiths record. It was all his dad's records. So he's sitting there, at 17, just sitting there playing records all day and strumming his guitar. And he knew what he was doing. And I remember he said to me once, he goes, I remember him asking me, Tim, what do you think the future of music is? And I remember thinking, what the fuck is he talking about? He's fucking 17. I was 23, I think, at the time. And this kid's thinking about the future of music. And he was like, I think it's funk. I think it's going to be funk. Mad, isn't it? At that age, that's what he was doing, dude. So,
Yeah, yeah.
he's just off the fucking scale. Like that's a phenomenal, like a set of the right circumstance with the right genetics, with all of these things and I just think he's incredible. I think he's absolutely brilliant, and he was just such a lovely, lovely guy as well. And I'm sure he still is. I haven't spoken to him for quite a while, but he's another one. Last time I see him, I did get a big hug. That was it. Um, Wonderful guy. Yeah, absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, yeah. And then what about in terms of your uni, like the course? Did you give that up at some point, or did you manage to complete
Oh
it?
no. So I ended up doing a teaching degree, and then I went and did about a year part time as a teacher. Um, and that was sort of time where everything was kind of fixated time.
All
Um,
right.
and then I think towards the end of that year was when Bromheads sort of started, and then I think we were playing that kind of that gig at the Globe happened, and then I was like, oh, maybe I should. No, in fact, it was before that. So it was just when sort of like the Bromheads thing had just clicked, and we knew this was a thing. And at that point, I sort of thought, right, well, why don't I give it a year? So that's what I said to the school. I said, like, can I just, I'm going to take a year off. Understandable if my job's not here, but I want to give this a go. And that was what I did really. So yeah, then it sort of, then I never ended up going back ever to having a job. Well, pretty much.
Yes. And then, yeah, what was the feeling going into the second album then? Because obviously, like you mentioned, you're going down well with NME, building a following. But was it mixed feelings type thing? I don't know.
Yeah, the problem was we'd run out of money.
Okay.
So we'd run out of money, and then Dan, drummer at the time, was quite annoyed at the fact that he might have to go back to, well, he had to get a job, and he didn't really have anything to do. So I think he was a labourer, just doing labouring on building sites. I don't think it was much fun, and he was a bit annoyed about that. And I sort of, I mean, that's not really my fault, but I sort of felt the pressure then, like, oh fucking hell, and we need to get on with it then, so we can go back on tour. And that's not really an environment to be writing a record. And I know now, and as I'm older, that's not an environment to even be creative. Like you need to, I think the more balanced my mental health has been, as I've got older, and when everything shuts down and I don't, there's nothing to do at the studio and there's no jobs need doing and I've just got time to myself, that's when the ideas just really, really start flowing. So I think if you're busy or stressed or anxious or, whatever, even just doing too much, um, the creativity doesn't flow. And I think that's what happened. I think I was feeling pressurized and I was feeling anxious and I thought, oh, I need to get this done so the boys can. And it was a rush job. It was a rush job. And it was also, I think, a rebellion as well to the success because I was like, well, we're not doing the same thing again. Like, you think you know who we are and, we're not just some throwaway silly band and we can write kind of interesting, more songwritery style music and we can be serious. And that was a big mistake. Like that I think that was a lot to do with the problem with that second record. It doesn't even sound like the same band. It sounds like a completely different band. You can't even associate the two things together. I think even my voice is you can barely tell. So I think that was a big mistake. And the boys, the label, they tried to tell us and we didn't listen and so
Well,
it's, yeah.
what they were saying to you.
Well, they just said, I think they just said, what is this? It's not the same, this is just not the same. What is this? It's a completely different thing. And and Tarek was amazing. Like he was like, okay, well, if this is what you want to do, we'll still put it out. I mean, that's unbelievable that he said that really, because it's just not the same fucking band. So so yeah, I mean, they tried to sort of encourage us. I think at one time it was like, well, why don't you just try one where you write some lyrics about Wayne Rooney or something? And I did, and actually, it's not a fucking bad idea. That at the time, that probably would have been quite funny. And that was kind of in keeping with like, the piss take of the whole lyric. All the lyrics were taking the piss really out of everything. Um, and it would have probably worked. That probably wasn't a bad idea, but obviously at the time that was like, who do you think you are? And we're not doing that, and all of this nonsense. So yeah, that was kind of the beginning of the end, really. I think China was like, I can't, guys, I can't be involved in this with the publishing. So we didn't get any publishing money. I can't remember if we got any more money from. I think we got some money to make the album, but yeah, and then it was just like the relationships then were really going downhill, and just because of that, because it was all sort of getting a bit stressful, and money just becomes a real problem as soon as you have to rely on money for a creative project. I think it's fucked. It's over. Like it's got to be. If I mean, and I think an example of that with the Arctic Monkeys, because you don't need to worry about money now. Do you know what I mean? So you can do whatever you want, and that was how they. I remember talking to Jeff even about it once, and it was like, well, yeah, we don't tell him how much anything costs. If he wants to do something, we just let him do it, and that's how it's got to be. That's how it has to be for you to be able to be as creative as you possibly can. And we just didn't. That was gone. That was there when we were students, and do you know what I mean? And everyone had student loans, and we didn't have to worry about paying rent. But I think there's a lot of people. I've heard Lambrini girls speaking out about it recently, and Kate Nash, and it's and even myself, just taking a bit of time to focus on the band and do some songs, do some recording, make a music video. It's like fucking, I don't understand. And I like my studio here, you know, is pretty much self-sufficient. I've got my own business. It's passive income, really. So I can take time to go and do stuff like that. But even with that, not having to do a job, I don't know how the younger bands do it today because they must be going working, working, working and then just doing it all in the evenings and on the weekend. And that's just like, it's fucking hats off. It's not an easy thing to do. And it was even easier, I think, back then because when you weren't on tour, like you were just writing songs. Whereas now, if you're not on tour, you've got to be doing content, content, content. Like it's
Mm.
fucking non-stop. So yeah, it's a really interesting. I think like the whole thing from a retrospective, hindsight and all that. Like it would have been good to kind of understand a lot of this, I think. And if I'd have been told like don't worry about it, like just take your time, I think it could have been a lot better, really. But like I said, I ain't got no regrets. I haven't got no regrets. It was the whole experience was absolutely brilliant. And I kind of like it that it was just a big bang and then just gone.
Yeah, fair play. And like one of your songs was on a PlayStation game or an Xbox game, did that not bring in a bit of money at the time? Or does
It
it not
did,
work like
yeah,
that?
yeah. I can't remember how much we got for that, but I remember we got uh oh no, what was that song? That show. Oh no, I've forgotten what it's called now. But the song was
The OC, yeah.
the OC, yeah. We got there a fight scene on the OC and they played What Ifs and Maybes as a
Oh,
backing track for a
really?
fight scene, yeah. It's
Nice.
actually on YouTube because I was talking to my partner about it. No, was it no, it was the girls in the office who help us, Julia. They do all of our sort of graphic design and social media stuff. They're amazing, like amazing bunch of girls. Hi girls, and also Jane in there, who's our accountant. And they just when we said we were going to start doing something again, they just dived in, and it wouldn't be happening without them really. So, but yeah, Julia's like I think it was Julia. I think she's a big fan of the OC. And I told her we were on the OC and she was just blown away. And we had to go and quickly check if it was on YouTube, and it is. So yeah, hilarious. Some fight scene, they wanted like some punky, gnarly thing in the background. And so yeah, we got I think we got about 10 grand off that. That was quite good.
Really?
Yeah, that kept us going. And then
Yes.
I can't remember what we got for the video game, but
Was
that's
it
still
Burnout? Just for people who
yeah, yeah, it was
wonder what it is. Yeah.
burnout something. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
I'm not very good at all those things. But that we still like that still had the most listens on Spotify, and there's a lot of people that I mean, there was a TikTok the other day that someone sent me that's like some guy singing along to it. Um, and it's weird because I don't think the song's actually that good, but that's what exposure does to you, innit? I suppose, like if you get it in people's faces enough. I think that video game was so big. There's enough people that just, as soon as they hear that song, they're back in their bedroom when they were 12 or whatever, being a racing driver. So I guess that means something to people. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So we did get some good money off that. And then years and years later, very strange. I was working in the film industry, which is what I've been doing for like the last 10 years. And I was in the workshop and we're working on a film. Well, we're working on Wonder Woman 2. And I got into doing special effects. It's a very long story, but basically blowing shit up and setting fire to stuff was quite good fun. And I got paid really well to do it as well. So a lot of that work, I saved up all the money over the years to build the recording studio here. So I could come back, kind of retire from all that because it's a lot of fucking hours. Like it's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous work schedule. But yeah, we were banging holes in the side of this Russian army truck, making bullet holes basically. And the radio's on in the workshop, and next thing I know, it's a fucking McDonald's advert. And then at the end, a fucking Bromheads jacket comes on. And it was What If Some Maybes again on this McDonald's advert. This is probably about 7 years ago. So the band's, so it's probably about at least, it's probably 10 years after the band had finished, really. Yeah, it was 2017, 2018, somewhere there. Um, and so straight away I phoned up Shiner, publisher, and and he and he goes, well, no, yeah, that and my mate had then since then had phoned me up and said, "Have you seen you're on the fucking World Cup?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "The TV, you're on the TV advert as well." And I was like, "Fucking hell!" I thought it was just like local radio thing. So it was like the whole campaign, like all over the country. And so I phoned up China. I said, China, what's going on? We're on a McDonald's advert. And he goes, oh, are you? And I was like, yeah. He goes, oh. He goes, I submitted that. He goes, I didn't know they're actually going to use it though. So we didn't really, and obviously he's just trying to make his money back. So no one asked us. I mean, back in the day, my God, if we'd have got asked to do McDonald's, that would have been absolutely not okay. And I mean, it still probably wasn't, I mean, it's not the best company, is it, to be putting your music on? But we didn't really have a say in the matter. And to be honest, I didn't complain about the paycheck when it came through. I have to be honest about that. So yeah, so we got a lump off of them as well that weren't too bad. And it's nice because Shiner got paid back for everything that he'd put into us through that, and it finished things off quite nicely with him. So that was kind of cool. But also weird, isn't it? Like 10 years later that would happen. So Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Does that where is that where it pays off being on like a more independent setup where
It,
people get paid type thing?
yeah, in terms of what? You mean having a
Well, I just imagine like if you're on a, I don't know, I know publishing rights are different, aren't they? I don't
yeah.
know. I just wonder how it works in terms of money. Do you think you had a better deal than other people type thing?
Um I think I can't even remember what happened with those deals. Like, because we had someone look into it not that long ago, and I don't even really remember. Like, apparently we signed the record deal for life. I don't remember that. I don't remember, feel like I'd agree to that. But anyway, I mean, this is a problem too, isn't it? Like, that when you get signed, right, you know, and this I've heard this from a lot of people, and then you sell a bunch of records and you sort of think, well, okay, that was how many records did we sell? Okay, we sold 20,000 records. So what do you sell those for? Like sell those for about this much, and then you sort of starting to think of all that money in your head. And I think that um the problem is with a lot of record labels is how do you even fucking know? No one really knows, do they? I mean,
Hmm.
like, if you, and I think it happened with us a couple of times where, and I've heard other people who've really tried to get down to it. And it's like, can we see the records, please? Can we see the accounts? Can we see the sales? Can we see this? Can we see that? And a lot of the time they just say no. And they don't really have to unless you're going to pay a lawyer a lot of money to go and make that happen. And obviously, no one can do that. No one's really got money to do that. So they just do what they fucking want, really, don't they? And then, no, you're not recouped. Well, but we've sold quite a lot. Well, you're not recouped. That's the end of it. That's the end of the discussion. And I think that's also not ideal in the musician's favor. And the thing that really I find interesting is having worked in the film industry, it is heavily unionized, and everybody from the actors down to the crew are protected from, massive companies and massive corporations. And it's very difficult for them to fully take the piss. Um, because of those unions are in place to protect all those people. And that's what I kind of don't understand is like, well, you know, Netflix streams stuff. The film industry went through a huge change and they went through the exact same issues that the music industry went through. And yet they still pay people and they still make films and sell them for money. And then the streaming rights are sold and everybody still seems to get paid. So why doesn't that happen in the music industry? Do you know what I mean? It's just why has it always been like this? Why isn't it more like the film industry? Why don't we have things in place to protect the artists? Why don't we have a union that says you have to show them those statements, otherwise the union's coming down on you like they would do in the film industry. Um, and then studios would still exist, people would still get paid, like the film industry is still, going strong as far as I can see. So it's a bit shitty, really. And I think it's good when you hear people like Kate Nash. And oh, who was the girl? I really wish I could remember her name. She's a new pop artist who I think she won at the Grammys quite young, and she sort of has a drag look to her whole thing. Really, really cool. And she I think she ended up getting dropped and then got re-signed. And she was just telling her story of like, well, I couldn't even pay for health insurance. And my record label just, I didn't have any control over my life and how hard it is basically for musicians and how little rights they have. And I think it's good when you're hearing these bigger artists and people, at the top should say more about it, really. And somebody somewhere surely should be trying to do something about it. But yeah, I mean, I guess there's a million things like this, isn't there? It's capitalism just always wins, doesn't it? The greed, and whoever can be the greediest and the nastiest is always going to win the game. So unfortunately, musicians generally are pretty docile, friendly people, and they're pretty fucking easy to rip off. And they're often quite young as well. So it's a bit of a tricky one, isn't it? But that's not saying that, there aren't incredible, like I said, Tarek and Shiner and You know, Domino always seemed to be incredible with the Arctic Monkeys, and I'm sure there's loads of other stories like that. I think Rough Trade, and I'm sure there's plenty of other stories of people who are fantastic at their job and do actually care about the people that they're working with. But you just don't hear those stories as much, I don't think.
Mm. No, it's interesting, yeah.
Hmm.
And interesting comparison with the film industry. Like you say,
Yeah,
like
do you know what I
the
mean?
impact of the internet has
Mm,
smashed music into
mm.
something else where it's not really, like you say, it's not really had that same impact with film. I don't know.
It's not that different, is it? You know what I mean? Like the
Yeah.
circumstances that arose, the pirating of films, all that, it's a very similar pathway, and they managed to make it all work, and everyone's still sweet, and everyone's still getting paid loads. So yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, just going back to get to the Bromheads era, where
Yeah,
you drop, for people who don't know, you dropped the jacket part of the name.
yeah,
Did you go down to a two piece? Is that right?
we did. Yeah, Jono had enough. I mean, that really should have been the end of it there. I think it was. it it was kind of like me and Dan still wanted to carry on making music, I think, but we should have just done something else. And then yeah, it was a bit of a strange time because again, yeah, well, what had happened there really was I'd I'd I mean my dad remortgaged his house to help me buy this building to I basically had a bunch of guys who we were sharing a rehearsal room with them just around the corner, and it got to the point where there were so many bands wanting to use it in the evenings that they were paying the rent, and then it was making a bit of money as well because we only used it in a day because we didn't have jobs, but they all wanted to go there after work. So I sort of thought, well, if I could, I don't want to spend any money here because if we get kicked out, I'm going to lose all that investment. And it wasn't soundproof downstairs, so we had funny hours where we could make noise in the day. Nighttime, you could do what you want. But then I sort of thought, well, if I bought a building, then I could do all the work to it, and I could make it nice, and soundproof it and all that. So I ended up doing that. Me and Matt were sort of Matt Helders. We were trying to find things to do other than getting drunk. So we started both really into film. So we started going to the cinema for Orange Wednesdays. And he had a fucking Nando's card as well, bro. That was sick. So we just ordered whatever we wanted for free from Nando's, and then we go to the cinema, and we'd spent about £2. So we done that every Wednesday. And on the way back, he saw a sign outside this building, and he knew I was looking for something, and we'd been talking about it loads. And he said, "Oh, look at that one." Anyway, so I ended up getting this place, and that really took up a lot of my time because obviously I had the overheads that had to be hit, and the bank wouldn't lend me no money. So I had the mortgage to pay to my dad each month, which weren't too bad. But then I'd have to move a band in. Do you know what I mean? Build a room, move a band in. I had some money left over from the place we were renting from because they never asked us for any rent, but I kept it all to one side just in case they asked for it. And then I used that to build the first room. And then when the band moved in, I'd wait a couple of months to save up the money that they'd paid me and then build another one. And I basically did that for, fuck no, it's probably nearly 10 years. So it's a very big building. So I was just really busy doing that. And I sort of knew I still wanted to do a bit of music here and there, but I think probably it is a bit of a mistake, all that.
I thought it was really good listening to
Did
that.
you like it?
Honestly, I really enjoyed it. Yeah,
There's
especially
a few
like,
people
yeah.
that say that to me, but yeah, it should have. I mean, it's good that we at least dropped the jacket, so it was like at least that time it was like, okay, look, this is not anything like it. But yeah, it was kind of. I sort of like the idea of doing a two piece. I like the idea of playing around with all of that and sub harmonics and trying to make things sound big, and yeah, it was quite fun. Did you ever see Bromheads play then, or
I was looking today because or recently because I grew up in Hull,
right?
so I was like checking one of your gig listings, and he played at something called the Clockworks, which I can't work out where that was.
Oh, what as Bromheads?
Yeah, from his jacket. Yeah,
Oh, Bromhead's jacket. Oh, yeah, no, I
yeah.
was wondering if you'd seen us play as just Bromheads, but
Oh
yeah,
right, no,
obviously
no.
not. Yeah, 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 yeah. No, yeah, that was yeah. Let's not talk about that anymore. We'll leave that there.
But what does the set list look like now? Do you include any of those songs?
No. We just literally play mostly dits from well, it's all dits from the commuter belt and earlier. So we don't play any of the second album, and none of that Bromhead stuff. Because it feels to me like that's Bromhead's Jacket. That time period, do you know what I mean? That album and the things that came before it, up to fixated songs before that. That's to me, that's Bromwich Jacket, and I think that's what 90% of the fan base are there to remember that moment in time. And I think, back in the day it was like, oh, I don't give a fuck about what the fans think. But obviously as a grown up, it's like, well, they're the ones paying for tickets, you fucking idiot. So why don't you just play the songs that they want to hear? So yeah, I love now playing those. And it was always like, oh, I don't want to play the old ones. Don't want to play the old ones. That doesn't define us. We're not going to allow that to define who we are. Whereas now I'm like, well, I just really like making people happy and seeing the faces and the reactions, when you play those old songs. And some of those people have been, you know, got married to some of those songs and they're a big part of their life, as it is for any band or whatever. So yeah, I kind of really enjoy it now for that reason, and also playing with my mate Jono, who was always, he was my best mate right from the beginning, and it's an incredible journey like the two of us have been on, and to when I got back from London. I just started meeting up with him again, and we met for about a year before we even said the word Bromhead, the name Bromhead's Jacket. We were just really happy to be mates again. And then sort of like Jono had quite a bad accident, a bike accident, left him with a permanent concussion, which means it's a small amount of brain damage basically that he's got. So his eyes basically can't focus on the same thing. So but he kind of grow new neural pathways, but it's a lot of extra work. So he gets really, really tired, and it's kind of like a concussion. You feel a bit nauseous. It's really hard for him to travel. But my daughter started writing music, and I'd said to him at one point, "Oh, can you still play bass? Because he can't do any sport." It's difficult to ride his bike for longer than sort of like 20 minutes, so he can't go on bike rides and stuff anymore, which is what he's doing when he obviously when he got injured, and it's something that he loved doing. So it's quite a sad story really, and he's suffered, it's been difficult for him. He can't even play sport with his kid and stuff, so I asked him about playing music, and he said, yeah, actually bass is one of the things I can still do. It's not affected me being able to play bass. And another friend of mine who just took over Yellow Arch here in Sheffield have been going on at me for ages about a Bromheads reunion. And so I sort of thought, and then the kids had never seen us play, and my partner had never seen us play either. And I was telling her stories and trying to explain to her what it was like. And so I thought, oh, well, maybe. So I asked Jono, and he just is lit up. And it's so sort of, and then my kids, to see my kids in the front row just pogoing, and then my partner afterwards, she was like, "Whoa, I wasn't really expecting that." I said, "Oh, well, you're not, love. What do you mean?" And she said, "Well, 30 seconds in, this guy just flew over the top and kicked me in the face." So yeah, it's kind of nice to sort of do it. It feels like doing it for the right reasons now, you know what I mean? And making people happy and about the kids and family and all that kind of stuff is yeah, it's really lovely, mate. It's really nice.
Yeah. Yeah, those was it last year you played the return shows?
That's it, yeah, yeah. So we,
Yeah.
we sort of thought like, oh, just friends and family, maybe it's gonna be 100 people there. And they said, no, you're gonna have to do 2 nights. It's like the venue's not big enough. And I was like, nah, go on. And they said, yeah, and we'll have to charge 20 quid a ticket. I said, you're fucking joking. And so yeah, they were right. I think it was pretty much sold out in like 48 hours. So we were pretty overwhelmed by that. And to be honest, even doing this, like, talking to you, and like I said, I've done another podcast and done a few interviews, and there's been a few books, people doing books about what happened back then. And you sort of, yeah, I didn't really. There's a sort of like a monument type thing somewhere in the city, and it's got all the names of bands from Sheffield on there, like everybody. And when I heard our name was on there, I was like, fucking hell. And up there with the Human League, and and obviously Arctic Monkeys and all these other Richard Hawley and stuff. It's pretty mad to sort of realize that actually there's quite a few people that did actually like our band, and I never saw it like that. I honestly never saw it like that at the time, and I still find that a bit weird now. But yeah, it is really nice to be doing it again. It is really, really good fun.
Yeah, yeah. I think I'm going to come see you in Stockton because our mates, the
Ah,
Paddingtons, are playing
brilliant.
as well.
Oh, your mates too?
The Paddingtons from Hull,
Oh yeah, I remember Paddingtons.
they're
They're still
playing as well.
going.
So,
Oh, sick. That's cool. Did they stop or did they just carry on?
they never really had like an official end. They kind of just
Right.
kept doing like reunion shows type thing, and it's like 20 years since their first album came out,
Oh,
so they're
brilliant. I
doing a few
remember
shows.
playing a few shows with them. I remember
Really?
I remember seeing them I remember seeing the names on posters. I'm sure we played, I mean, we must have played with them at least once. I remember seeing them play. Um, yeah, and of course Maximo Park, like I
Yeah.
fucking loved them at the time. So that's gonna be great fun. Are they on the same stage then, the Paddingtons? Or are they
I'm not sure.
I'll
I'm
have
not
to
sure
have
how
a
it
look
works.
into it.
Oh, is it one where it's all different venues or something? I don't
Oh, is
know.
that what it is? Right, right,
I
right, right.
think it might be.
Okay, okay. Yeah, we'll have to come and find that then. Yeah, I'll have to come and find you, mate.
Yeah, definitely.
That'll be good fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
proper nostalgia, that festival. It's gonna be good fun.
Yeah, looking
Jimmy, do you
forward
know
to it.
Jimmy? Do you know Jimmy who organizes it?
No, no.
Oh mate, he's a fucking boy. Like he was like back in the day, man. He was the guy up there, you know what I mean? Mostly in Stockton, but he was putting gigs on all the time. He had everyone play up there, and you'd just go up there, and he would literally, it was just carnage. Like he just made it so rock and roll. Like every time you go up there, lovely, lovely bloke. So he got in touch. All right, boys, it's Jimmy, and we're like, fucking hell, come on, then we got to do this. So yeah, it's not long that, is it? Need to get some practice in, really. It's in April, isn't it, I think?
Yeah, is it Easter weekend or something? I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that'd be good fun. Oh, well, you have to meet up. That'd be
Yeah,
good.
definitely, mate. Yeah. Have a Heineken
Sweet.
Zero.
Yeah, oh, is that what you're on? Yeah, I don't drink anymore either.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Nah,
Can't handle it these days.
nah, strictly marijuana, me. That's it. Yeah, that's the best one, dude.
Fair play. Right, I've got to get these fan questions in before I forget.
Oh, did you get some then?
Yeah, yeah.
I saw that thing and I was like, nah, I was gonna be caring about that.
No, we got a fair few. Quite a few asked about McDonald's, so we'll get them. We'll leave them.
Oh shit.
We've got Corey M91 on Instagram who just put Aberdeen question mark with the staring eyes emoji.
Oh yeah, listen, I think I know Corey.
Right.
Yeah, the problem is with that is that obviously Jono's condition means he can't do that amount of travel really. So we're sort of limited to our to what we can do in on tour. And it's quite a good opportunity. This I feel like we should put a little social media thing out there or something to say it because it's going to limit us really as to how much we can go on tour. The Stockton one works out quite well because his brother-in-law lives up there. So what that means is he can go a few days before, do you know what I mean? And then the sort of like the trauma effectively, the nausea and everything from the traveling kind of can wear off a bit, you know, over a couple of days, and then he plays the gig and then he comes back. But it's really hard for him. The traveling takes so much out of him. He can't, and the gigs also is a lot of outlay for him energy wise. So it's very difficult for him to like drive 3 hours and then play a gig. We can't really do that. So it's a bit of fine tuning, but he has had some extra help recently. Um, from a few specialists, and he's just done his first flight, which he managed to do. So he is getting better, and you never know, it might be something down the road that we can do. But unfortunately, we're not going to make it up to Aberdeen anytime soon. So we sort of have to beg everybody to come to us or kind of meet us halfway. Stockton's, is it halfway to Aberdeen?
Yeah, I was going to
Probably
say
not.
that it's
It's
not
probably
too far, is
fucking
it?
not halfway, but it's a long way up there, isn't it, Aberdeen?
Oh yeah. Sustainable golfer says, "What's the inspiration behind Poppy Bird?"
Can we just analyze What the fuck? A sustainable golf. I mean, it's pretty sustainable golf. I mean, you're just walking, aren't you? As long
Yeah,
as you've got
so-
an electric cart or you're walking, I mean, it's generally sustainable, isn't it? That. So yeah, good on you for being sustainable. Um, uh, Poppy Bird. So I was on the tube, and I was actually, I think I might have been going to see my auntie, but I was around Leytonstone, and um, and I saw this girl on the tube, and and I thought she was quite attractive, and then I just come up with this idea of, somebody watching someone on the tube, which happens obviously all the time, but then I sort of wanted to put a bit of a twist on it at the end because obviously I was watching her, and maybe there's something wrong with that, maybe there's not, but obviously I wasn't sort of the horror story, that you hear about. So I sort of wanted to play with that idea of, somebody being watched and it all being actually quite an innocent thing, like in the end. So that was it. That was it.
yeah,
Exactly what the song is, really.
yeah. I was I was driving over Woolley Bridge not so long ago, and
Oh, you did.
I love
You
seeing the
noticed it.
sign. I was like, that's it,
Yeah.
yeah.
That was my missus at the time. She was living in Manchester, so I'd drive back and forth all the time, and to see her. And she's from Surrey, so that's why it's all about Surrey girls like tight jeans and
Okay, right.
all of that. Because I was thinking about all of that whilst I was driving over to see her, and Woolly Bridge was where. So you know what I mean. You're starting to pick up on these lyrics, aren't you? Just not incredibly complicated. Just sitting around looking at things and then writing them down, which is pretty much what Bromheads Jacket always was. So yeah, that's it, Woolly Bridge.
Yeah, I think the same day I saw oh God, saw something in Sheffield like that was assigned something to do with an Arctic Monkeys lyric as well.
Oh,
Right.
there is one here. They say it changes when the sun goes down. Do you see that one? That's quite
Okay, right,
that's someone's written that on the side of a building quite big,
right.
round Kelham Island, which their rehearsal room at the time, which we all used to go to now and again, was just round the back of there, round at Neat's End. So yeah, I'm sure there's a load of those. There's not as many as you'd think though. Like there's some Richard Hawley ones as well. Um, those sort of and Jarvis. You see Jarvis graffitied quite a lot. I think
Okay.
they outweigh the Arctic Monkeys ones for some reason. But maybe I'm just not looking in the right places.
You could do like get a tourist thing together, tourist trail.
Oh, that's not a bad idea. Yeah. Well, I worked on Game of Thrones for a bit, and they got that over there in Belfast now, so you can go to all the actual sets. They've kept them. I think they've left them as things that you can go and visit. So
Okay.
yeah, the old game. Did you watch Game of Thrones? Is that your thing?
Not particularly, no, but
Nah,
it's
it's
obviously
quite
massive. Yeah.
quite popular. Yeah, yeah. So that's the same idea essentially.
How did he get into all that then? The film stuff.
Oh, so Bromheads, during the Bromheads era, my missus at the time, her cousin's mate, um, started in special effects doing prosthetics and all the latex and all the masks, and he was like banging to horror movies. And um, Nikki's cousin was also getting into filmmaking, and they'd made friends, and they helped us out with a few music videos. So then I'd always had a bug for movies. Like I said before, me and Matt were going watching movies all the time. And so I started helping him out with his films, and he was helping me out doing the music videos. And really, it was through the music videos that I realized how much I enjoyed it. And actually, just did another one for Bromwich Jacket, The Grind, the new song that we've got. And I just fucking love it. I love the whole process of it. And so eventually I got to a point where the studio was kind of doing all right, and it was just about paying me enough money to get by. And the band, I'd stopped doing any music, and I was actually getting into rebuilding classic Harley Davidsons. I had like 1950s Harley and a 1980s Harley, and I was doing a lot of that sort of stuff. And I'd said to Terry, like, could I come over to Game of Thrones and see how you make a film properly, like how they do it on a big scale? And he said, well, if you're going to come over, you might as well come over and work, because I won't be able to get you passes to go anywhere. But if you come and work for me, then you can obviously you can see everything firsthand. So my first day on set, they gave me this thing called an RTEM, which is basically a fucking like potential firebomb of like a burner, like a gas burner, and then you put this oil in it, and it heats the oil up and evaporates and it turns into smoke. So they give me this RTEM and said, go on, just go and waft a bit of that, like, so you use a paddle to like waft the smoke around. Go and put that bit of that in the middle of the set over there. And I'm just like, oh my God. And Brienne of Tarth, who's one of the lead actors in the film, she's slitting this geezer's throat. And then the boys are doing like a blood rig on her throat, so on the geezer's throat. So you know, it's basically air just pushes like there's all sort of like dyes and syrup and stuff like that, and then it all comes out. So I was just like, what the fuck is going on? Like, what have I just walked into here? And I went in there and ended up spending the next 8 years of my life working doing that on loads of different films. I worked on Bohemian Rhapsody.
Wow.
Yeah, worked on a lot of the DC films, like, you know, Batman stuff, Justice League, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and then a load of little TV shows and stuff, SAS things. Like, I just loved it, man. And sort of like Mark Wahlberg films, like all sorts, action films, right through to like, pretty boring kind of rubbish. I mean, a lot of it was like, free for a fiver in the DVD bin in Tesco's. A lot of it is absolute junk. But there were a couple that I worked on that were quite good. And yeah, it was a lot of fun, man. It was a lot of fun. Yeah.
That's it. Did you meet some mad people?
A lot of very fucking mad people, yeah. I mean, there's more cocaine on a film set than you can fucking imagine.
Really?
Probably not as much now, but back then in the beginning, like 10 years ago when I was first starting out there, yeah, because that's what they used to do. That's how you get through the day. You're doing such long hours. You know what I mean? Everyone's just fucking geared off their tits, like just trying to keep themselves going. You're doing like 14, 16-hour days sometimes, 7 days a week. You're doing night shoots.
What do you mean, like the crew more than the
Yeah. The
cast?
crew. Yeah.
Right,
Oh, the
yeah.
cast. I don't, yeah. Nah. I mean, the cast generally, like the actors are all pretty, yeah, all incredibly professional. Jason Momoa is a fucking knob though. Like, he is unbelievable. I hope he watches this, because I mean, he just the most narcissistic, arrogant, rude, horrible individual. And the only time there was anything like that going on. Oh, and also, oh shit, I've forgotten his name now, but it will come back to me in a minute. It's the Usual Suspects director, Brian Singer. He is, oh, honestly, like, he was awful. He got sacked off the film. That was Bohemian Rhapsody. He got
Oh, right.
sacked off the film. I mean, he won one day. He came in and he had such a big tantrum because one person was standing about 10 centimeters to the left of where they're supposed to be, and he fucking smashed the whole setup. He was like pulling like paintings off the wall. They're all props, like, you know what I mean? But we're in this, I think it might have even been actually Freddie Mercury's house that we were filming in. And he was like pulling paintings off the wall and like smashing vases and stuff. So yeah, but that's the only two, really. That's the only two. Everybody else, I mean, you get some pretty nasty characters. But yeah, he was going out till like 4 a.m., like getting absolutely mashed, and then coming into work at like 12. And we'd all been there since 8, trying to wait, trying to make this film. And the guy, Rami, I'm forgetting his surname now, Malek, I think his name's Rami Malek,
Yeah.
he won the Oscar for it. I mean, you could feel that, dude. Like, when we were watching him like perform, unbelievable. Like, he had Freddie Mercury's butler on set as an advisor, right? They had the producers had obviously put him in the set and he would just, I saw him once and he was going to this, forgotten the guy's name now. I should remember his name. He's a lovely fella. But he was saying to him, and how would Freddie hold his tea? Would he have a pinky up? Would he do, so literally down to how he would pick up a cup. he was asking this guy exactly, he wanted to get it absolutely perfect. And you really, really felt like he was going to get the Oscar for that, man, like at the time. That's kind of exciting, you know, to be involved in a project like that. But the problem was Bryan Singer was just not invested at all. His head was off somewhere else, like, and just doing whatever he was doing till 4 a.m. every night in London. And they clashed big time. And that's eventually why they got rid of him. Because it was just, it wasn't, the film wasn't going to get completed, man. It was fucking terrible. So yeah, now and again you come across one of them, but on the whole, you know, everyone's you know, generally incredibly professional people. And there's not, you know, I know I'm saying about the cocaine, but it's on the whole, you know, very, very, because everyone wants to keep their job. Nobody wants, but the old school, all the lads up in the Reds, all the riggers, you know, they're popping cans of beer and snorting gear and smoking cigarettes up there at fucking 3 o'clock on a Friday. Well, are we not going home? What the fuck's going on? You know, it was great fun, man. There's loads of stories over the years.
Yeah, I bet there is. Yeah. Well, and you're retired now, so you can tell them type thing.
That's it, yeah. Probably some producer somewhere is gonna find this out somehow, and I'll have a fucking what do they call it when they serve you them papers, you know, or get
A
served or
writ or
whatever it is.
something,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I don't care anymore.
Yeah, yeah. Well, some of the stars quite approachable then, like the big stars, or not really.
Yeah, I mean, well, on Bohemian Rhapsody, Brian May was absolutely lovely. Oh, hello, chaps. So, you know, what are you doing there then? Oh, well, this is a smoke gun, Brian. Oh, and that okay, right, yeah, fantastic. And they had all the original instruments that they used for the recording of Bo Rap. So the drum kit was there, the guitar, you know, his dad only made, is it two of those guitars? I think his dad made for him. Two or three anyway. It was there, so I got to have a little wangle on Brian May's guitar.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, a lot of them were, and another one who I remember is Henry Cavill. You know, Superman, and did The Witcher and all that.
Okay.
Absolute fucking gentleman, like unbelievable guy, like just so lovely. And yeah, so some of them you could, you know, some of them would come up to you, and the rule is you never go and approach them. But if
Hmm.
they talk to you first, then that's all right. And yeah, so there was a couple like that were really nice. Amelia Clark, who played Dragon Queen, absolutely one of the nicest people ever. Like really, really lovely to all the crew and everything. Because they don't have to talk to us. Do you know what I mean? It's not in the job description to talk to us, especially not a bunch of, you know, fucking reprobates on set, like setting fire to things and all that. Like we're probably the last people. A lot of us are just like grease monkeys. You know what I mean? Like just dirty geezers running around in disgusting clothes, like burning things. So yeah, there was a few really lovely people over the years, and it's kind of nice. Like we were saying about the Arctic Monkeys, you know, and people have had that kind of those experiences, and they don't decide to be a dickhead. You know, they just lovely people, even though they're massively, massively famous. So yeah, it was good. It's good times, man. Good times.
Yes. All right, well, let's finish these questions.
Okay,
Just got a few
we're gonna
more.
be here all night.
Sorry, mate.
Sorry, dude.
Um, Corkers on Instagram. Not a question, but I still listen to Poppy Bird and What Ifs and Maybes at least once a week.
Oh, that's lovely. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Patrick Hoff says, "Did you ever truly return from your crowd surf at Reading Festival?"
Ah, Patrick. What happened is the tour manager had to come and fucking rescue me. So I think it was the end of the gig. I think I lost my shoes in that gig as well. No, yeah. So I jumped in the crowd once. I think someone had nicked my shoes, and then I got back on the stage and I refused to play another song until my shoes came back. So one came back really quickly, and there was about a 3 minute wait, maybe even 5 minutes. It felt like a long time. Everyone started chanting to get this shoe back on the stage. Eventually, the second one came over, and I was like, right, okay. And it was, I mean, that was unbelievable. That was absolutely unbelievable, that gig. Like, that was going off. The whole tent was just going off. There was people spilling out the sides. It was incredible. It was a real moment, that. And then so yeah, at the end, I'd end up in the crowd at the end, and they just carried me out the tent. My belt had gone. It was, yeah, it was a bit dramatic. And then basically, I think the tour manager eventually had to come and sort of unhand everybody. Well, sort of get me away from everybody because nobody would let go. So yeah, that was fun. That was fun. Glad somebody else remembered it. There was a lot of alcohol going around at that gig.
Did you end up playing all over the world type thing then? You mentioned America before, did you?
Yeah, we played not I wouldn't say all over the world, but we did a lot in Europe. And we went to South by Southwest. South by Southwest was fun. Um, that was really good because there was do you know the Harrisons? Do you remember the Harrisons?
Yeah,
They're
we
another
played a gig with
Sheffield
them
band.
once.
Did you? Where
Yeah,
did you play with them?
in Hull at a place called The
Uh,
Lamp. Yeah,
oh, I think I remember that place. I think we might
yeah.
have played there. Yeah, we went over and played. We went over and played South by Southwest, and we were just in this fucking bar and we didn't know. And Ben from the house was like, "Tim," it's like your mate from fucking Sheffield, like in this bar in Texas, just like, "What the fuck, bro?" That was quite fun. And then the same thing happened again a couple of days later because the Arctic Monkeys were playing there. We didn't know they were playing there. Of course, they were playing there, but we didn't know. And Matt was like, "Tim." So yeah, we did Europe a lot, like Holland, Germany, France, and we were sort of I think most of the time we were doing nearly 200 gigs a year. Like
Blimey.
probably it must have been I don't know if we did that for more than 1 year, but I definitely remember one because it's probably only a couple of years, wasn't it? And then it was yeah, because then by the time we got 2007, we were in the studio again. So I think it was a good yeah, it was a good couple of years of like lots and lots of gigs. So yeah, yeah, not quite a world tour. We got asked to go to Japan, but the booking agent said we shouldn't go. Because he said
Shouldn't go.
if you, yeah, he said, oh, because he used to book the Pixies as well, and he said, look, the Pixies waited, I can't remember, it was 10 years or something like that before they uh got out to Japan. So you lot can't be going. Like now, you need to wait until like because apparently if you didn't go over there and there wasn't this like boom reaction, then they'd never invite you back. So he was thinking about the long game, which I think is fair enough. But there was no long game in Bromwich Jacket, so it would have been nice to go to Japan. Um, I think Milburn might have gone. I think the Harrisons might have gone as well. I feel like everyone just went except us. So yeah, I was a bit gutted about that one. But yeah, I mean, we did tour quite a bit overseas.
Were we able to like write on the road then in terms of
Nah, I was too
no?
busy getting drunk, dude.
Yeah,
Yeah,
fair play.
too busy getting drunk.
So when it came, I mean, going back a little bit, when it came to the second album, did you have the songs ready, or did you have to like write?
No, I mean
No,
that's the
no.
problem. Yeah, that's the thing. If I had thought about it properly and not been, my mental health hadn't been so bad, then I should. That's what I should have been doing. I could have been thinking about that on tour. To be honest, I might have had bits of riffs going on. I do remember maybe the odd sound check, like trying bits of riffs out and stuff like that. But yeah, I think it's difficult to do that when you're on tour unless you've got like quite a proper setup. Do you know what I mean? So like I said, you need to be undistracted and I think super relaxed to be able to get into that creative zone. Do you know what I mean? Which I don't. I thought back then anyway would have been very difficult for me to do that on tour. So yeah, nah, another one of those hindsight things.
Fair play. Ear Protect on Instagram says, "What happened at the gig in Sunderland? I was there with a few mates, and it was bonkers."
Oh, that might have been a tear up. That might have been we had that like when fight music got written probably around that time. It might have even been about that gig. Because it was like this time where I don't think they'd probably do it anymore because they wouldn't get away with it. But the bouncers were just incredibly heavy-handed all the time. And the problem was, like, obviously they're punk shows, and our crowd were fucking always lunatics to the absolute bitter end. So, it looks from a distance like it's violence, but it's not. It's just everyone's just let themselves go. And I think a lot of those bouncers sort of got a bit freaked out by it and they just grab people and beat them up basically and throw them out of the gig but not really doing anything wrong other than expressing themselves. And I didn't really like that. So I think I might have had a go at them or something. And then everybody said at the end of the gig I had to exit from a different door because the bouncers were all going to beat shit out of me. Never
Oh,
happened.
Jesus.
Never happened. The worst one of those was Jabez Clegg in Manchester. And we were playing this gig, and the promoter was a bit of a wide boy, and he'd oversold it. He said, "Look, it's going to be quite a lot of people here tonight, so we're thinking we put a barrier in. What do you think?" And I was like, "Well, whatever, whatever you want to do." And I said, where's the barrier?" And he goes, "Oh, it's that." And it was just a bunch of car park fencing, like that you see at festivals on the way in, like when you're queuing, those types of things. I said, "Well, bruv, that's not going to do anything. And is that really a good idea if it's not fixed to the ground properly and all that?" "Ah, it'll be fine. We're going to put some of the bouncers there. They'll take care of it." "All right, whatever." And so then we start playing the gig, and the bouncers are in between the stage and the barrier. And then as it starts, literally from the off, like everyone just goes fucking nuts, and the barrier obviously gets fucking slammed towards the stage because everyone's pushing each other, and now the bouncers are pinned between the stage and the barrier, and one of the bouncers understandably starts shitting himself, and because he's being crushed, and he just starts punching people in the crowd. So I've thrown my guitar off and jumped straight on top of him to stop him punching people. And then the bouncers have come and started fucking smashing me up. So now I'm on a ball in like on the floor, just getting kicked in basically. And now the crowd are coming back at the bouncers to try and well, not really bouncers, they were just security guys to try and protect me. And then of course the gig stopped. So now everyone's stopped and now everyone's calmed down. And I remember just looking up and being like, okay, it's safe to come out now. And then got back on the stage and I sort of said, right, we're going to get rid of this fucking barrier now. So they pulled the barrier out of the way, and then the gig went on. But that was it turned out the NME were there that night, and they photographed the whole thing, and there was a big spread. Have you seen that one? I don't know if you've seen that one on your.
I
I
think I
saw
might
you
have
got a
seen it
few.
on your
Oh,
video.
we put it up, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was why we got booked apparently for Reading and Leeds. So yeah, that was great. That's how we liked it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I was
So yeah.
watching a video from the Macbeth on YouTube.
Oh shit, the Macbeth. Oh, was that in London? That was in
Yeah, it
London,
must
wasn't
have
it?
been. Yeah, like the crowd are going mad for it. Yeah.
Yeah, that was mad because that was the first time that booking agent Jeff Craft, and the first gig that he ever booked was a Sex Pistols tour, and he was at college, and it was that tour. I can't remember, they'd done a tour where it all got cancelled because I don't know, they'd done something they shouldn't have. Or
Yeah,
do you
yeah.
remember that? And it was like Sex Pistols supported by the Jam, supported by Blondie. So Blondie were like. And
Wow.
and dude, he's still got the fucking ticket stubs because the gig never happened. That was his first ever gig that he booked. So he'd come down to see what all the commotion was about. And of course, that gig that you're talking about in Macbeth, it all booted off. And he was going to the Tarek and Sean. He was like, "You've staged this, haven't you? Like you've employed a crowd to come in here and just like act." And they're like, "No, we haven't. This is just what happens at their gigs." Because they'd been to loads of our gigs by then, and they were all the same. But he couldn't understand how raucous that was. I think to him, it had gone back straight back to well, it's not. I don't even know if it was that. It's more 90s, right? The grunge time when you see Nirvana, and there's more people on the stage than there was in the crowd. That was always that was why I was so happy with those types of gigs, man, because it just reminded me of everything I'd seen on VHS videos of Nirvana, like just carnage at their gigs. Yeah,
That must be the best feeling ever.
it's great, bro. Yeah, it's great. Doesn't
Yeah. Yeah.
happen. Well, didn't it did happen a bit. We had a few crowd surfers, but it's not it's not the same as it was 20 years ago. Everyone's a little bit more stiff.
And then just one or two on Twitter. G says, "Have they ever had the what's it's waxed?"
No, can't say I have. Shaved, but not waxed. And not by anyone else, just myself.
Then John Connolly just says, "Tell them I love them. They're my favorite band. Tim is my hero."
Oh, thanks, John. You're a lovely man. Lovely man. Oh, that's nice. I didn't even know Twitter was. Oh no, is it called X? Elon's
Yeah,
done it,
yeah.
hasn't he? Yeah, I don't even think we got one on there. Maybe we should do.
I looked it up. Your last tweet was like 2015 or something. saying the gig's not. He's like, by the way, this gig ain't happening anymore.
Is that what it says? Is
Have a
that the
look at it.
last tweet?
Yeah, I'll have a look at it now. Yeah.
Oh, God, I didn't even know we fucking had one. I had no idea.
Have a look. Yeah, it's just called the Bromheads. Due to January the 13th, 2015. Due to unforeseen circumstances, Bromheads will not be playing Cafe 1001 in London. We're sorry for any inconvenience.
Wow, yeah, gig, man. I think that's when we knocked it on the head.
Okay, so yeah,
That
I've not really
sounds about
covered
right.
that period, have we? Yeah.
Nah, because I think that's when we knocked it on the head. Because then that's the year. That's the year when I started in the special effect. That's when I started in film industry. First thing I
Okay.
did was Game of Thrones, September 2015. What date was that?
January the 13th,
Yeah,
2015.
that's when we knocked it on the head. Yeah, that would have
Right,
been
okay.
why. I had enough of that. Sorry, guys.
Fair play. Um, then yeah, that's it really, mate. Quite a comprehensive chat, really.
Yeah, nice, nice. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, it's been fun, dude. It's kind of a good thing about podcasts, isn't it? You're not on that sort of like, you got 15 minutes to try and cover 20 years. It's
yeah, yeah.
good. It's good to it's one of my favorite things I think about, the modern formats of media and technology or whatever, however you want to describe it. And good on you, dude, for doing it. It's great. It's brilliant.
Cheers, mate. I
Yeah.
did want to ask you about the songwriting recently because I enjoyed one of your lyrics in Juiced Up about that punk is like half come back
Oh,
with
yeah,
silly spoken word. And
yeah.
I agree with that. I've never really got on board with like that kind of vocal style. Are you similar?
Yeah, I mean, no, listen, don't get me wrong, right? I think it's brilliant that people even seems like more and more people are picking up guitars more and more, and that people can just make a racket, and they don't have to be fantastic singers, and that people still connect with that even all these years later. Like I think that's absolutely brilliant. But I guess it was more sort of like, uh, it's more kind of nice to hear that, you know, it's not the same thing, but it's not, it comes from the same place to know that I guess that what we did back then hasn't sort of disappeared. Do you know what I mean? And it still means something now. And people are still doing it now, and that's kind of what we it feels like we weren't doing things a million miles away, with the same sort of attitude and stuff. And even at the time we got lumped in as an indie band, we were always a punk band. And so it's not so much of a knock at all that stuff. It's more of a nod to it, really, that it's kind of nice to be like, well, and have you ever heard of a band called Bilk, Bilk?
I'm not sure. No.
Bruv, it is literally like Bromwich Jacket Mark II. It
Oh, okay.
is, but I love it. And I don't know if they've ever heard Bromwich Jacket or if it's a complete coincidence, but it's sort of like Bromwich to the next level. It's literally just like I went out to a party the other night and I saw this girl and I bought her a drink and then we copped off and we went home and we got in a taxi and then I had a cigarette. Yeah. And then but it's brilliant. It is actually brilliant.
I
And they're
think I
young
might have
kids.
heard them. I think someone
I bet
recommended
you've
them to
heard them.
me.
I bet
Yeah.
you've heard them. They get played on. John Kennedy plays them a bit, and I think they sold out like Electric Ballroom. They're massive, like
Oh, okay.
massive band. They're doing really, really well. And so I guess it's a bit about that. It's just nice to know that whether they know Bromheads or not, I don't really mind. It's just the fact that there's young kids still doing that sort of same thing, and we didn't fucking invent it. Like we didn't start it. Like I said, Squeeze were doing it, and John Cooper Clarke and The Fall, and the fucking list goes on, doesn't it? You don't have to be able to sing to be in a band, and that's kind of cool that kids still do that. You know what I mean? I like that.
No, yeah, definitely. And then what's the idea? Are you gonna release an album at some point?
Yeah, we've got something just about knocked together, but I keep changing my mind about which songs are going on it, so and whether I'm going to write some more or not. But yeah, it sounded good. It's I mean, the last one, The Grind, I feel like we quite like that kind of sound that we've got there. It's like it's obviously the same. The vocal delivery is pretty similar, but it's a little bit more serious. I think the lyrics are a little bit more serious. And
Great
also
melody, I was thinking. Yeah.
oh, thanks, bro. And we've got this kind of weight, like this kind of like bit more kind of rock grunge type sort of weight to it, which is good. So I feel like we've got that right on the grind. And I think that's kind of the sound that's going to carry across the album. But yeah, we just got to decide on a few more things, and then hopefully we need to get that finished quite soon, actually, because we're trying to get it finished for the Lead Mill gig.
Oh yeah,
So yeah.
which is in May. Yeah,
That's it, dude. Yeah.
cool. Makes sense now with the bloke putting the TV through the window. You know what you're doing, the special effects. don't
Yeah, that's it. Now you get that bit. Yeah,
you?
yeah.
It's cool. The idea you had for that was cool. I like doing different videos on Instagram,
You,
kind of
yeah.
pieced up.
Yeah. Oh, I'm glad someone like that, because I don't a lot. I'm not sure if it really worked or not, but yeah, it kind of. I think some people were saying like, oh, it's taking ages for this video to come out. I didn't know if I pissed everybody off, but yeah, it was actually Shiner's idea that. So yeah, it was good fun. It was really good fun doing that video.
Yeah, and someone was saying the bloke in it plays for Royal Oak FC or something. Steve Bracknell's team.
Yeah. So that's Housey. He's actually just managed to get himself in I forgot what it's called now. What Films production.
All right.
Yeah, so he's gone. I think he did an audition for that, and then he got part. They've done a little TV series. So he's technically an actor now. So I said, and we've known Housey for years. He's come to Bromheads gigs all the time, and he's always been on the scene, and obviously doing that stuff with Mr. Steve Bracknell. So I said, "Do you fancy it, mate?" And he was like, "Yeah." I was like, when then I told him he was going to get to throw a telly through a window and smash a flat to bits, and he was like, "Oh yeah, no, I really want to do it." I still got to pay him for it. Actually, I haven't paid him yet.
So I mean, I did send you that question about story with about the Gallagher brothers or anything or someone of a big name.
Oh, what was that? Oh, let me have a look, 'cause I've got it here. To be honest, dude. Oh, have I got one? No, because no, we never crossed paths with them. But everyone else seems to have, don't they? I don't know how we got left out from all that. I don't think
Ah,
we
fair
really
play.
fit with that sort of sound, do we? I haven't even got any second-hand stories. I mean, the Monkeys spent a bit of time with them, I think. In fact, Steve Bracknell spent a bit of time with them. John McClure did as well.
Oh, yeah, they
Um,
supported him, didn't they? Yeah.
I think so, yeah. But Eddie's one was great, wasn't it? Eddie's
Yeah, yeah.
that was really good. Like that was really funny that about Liam. That was brilliant. So no, we didn't quite get to cross paths with those boys.
Nah, fair play. And then I think you've already said that you wouldn't do anything differently type thing.
Nah. I think it was just right. I think it was just right. And I think to be doing it again now exactly the way it is, and for everything to have happened the way it is this is all right. This is the right way for it to be happening now, and this wouldn't have happened like this without it. So yeah, it's good. No regrets, dude.
Cool. I realised that just a guy called Martin sent me a few questions, and that's it.
Yeah, no, it's
Just
sound.
okay, cool. Martin Langhorn on Patreon, big support of the podcast. So he asked what's the story of Poppy Bears. We've covered that. Um, he said, "Are you planning any gigs down south?"
Yeah, we're trying to get a gig in London. But I mean, the last thing I was told was that, well, the venues that we've been trying to get, you need a promoter. Um, and the promoters that a lot of these venues use are absolutely massive companies, which obviously are not going to be interested in us because we don't want to tour very much. So there's a bit of I mean, I don't want to, I don't want to step on any toes or piss anyone off, but probably even less likely to get a gig. But it seems to me a little bit mafia. It's like, well, if you're not affiliated with these people and these people and these people, then you can't play in these venues. And I'm sure there are some venues that are independent enough that will just give us a gig, or there's a fucking town hall somewhere that we can hire for the night or something. I don't know. But at the moment, we have literally been trying to book a gig in London uh, for almost a year, and
All right.
nobody, because we don't have a booking agent, and we don't want one, and we can't tour. we're sort of in this problem. It's not a problem for Jono to get down there. He has meetings in London quite a lot, and he can do the train and all that would be sweet. So that's not an issue for us. But there is something very strange going on, I feel, and it's a bit feels a bit fucking gangster to me. But I could be getting the wrong end of the stick because I haven't spoken to any of these people and I don't know anybody and I don't know how it all works in London. But yeah, we're not going to play an industry game anymore, and so that may mean that it's going to be a bit more difficult. But I did speak to Stu Whiffen on his podcast the other day, and I've asked him if he knows anybody down there, and I think he's looking into it for us. So hopefully Stu can sort us out. And yeah, he spoke very highly of your podcast, by the way. He said
All
he
right.
thinks it's very good. Yeah, he said it was great.
Oh, yes, appreciate that.
Yeah, he's a lovely guy. So hopefully Stu can sort something out because other than that, we've not had much luck. But if anyone else out there knows anybody that wants to put us on for a gig, we're not asking for loads of money and we'd be happy to do it because just so many people keep asking us to play London. So yeah, see what happens. We put the word out there. We're up for it.
It'd be worth talking to the Paddingtons about that if you see him in
Oh,
Stockton.
okay. Are they still playing down there?
Yeah, like they do one-off gigs down there.
Oh, cool.
I think they're
Okay,
planning
let's
one
see.
at some point this year.
Oh, great. Maybe we should do one with them.
That'd be yes.
There we go, isn't it?
Yeah, I think potentially. You remember Dustin's Bar Mitzvah?
Yes.
I think they're maybe going to do it with them as well. So that'd be a great
Oh,
lineup. Yeah.
sick. Yeah. Well, it'd make things easier, wouldn't it? If you do it
Yeah,
all
yeah.
together. Yeah, yeah.
Martin just says, well, unpopular opinion, but the second album wasn't a mistake. Plenty of bangers on there, particularly Speaker Box. Will you not be playing any live at all? Saw you on that tour at King's College in London and it was ace, as was the Bromheads album that followed. P.S. Please play Shopping Spree.
Oh, we have. Oh no, did we? Oh no, we didn't. No, that's the one. That's like the only one of those that we haven't done. Yeah, a shopping spree. Um, yeah, that's nice. I mean, yeah. There's a lot of people have said that about the second album, but I still think it was a bad idea that. But it's nice to know that some people like it. So yeah, that's cool. He's not the first person to say that. But we're looking to shopping spree. That I think that might be the only one we haven't done that everybody remembers from the beginning. So we'll have a look and see if we can sort that out.